Fix your fucking game.
What's up, you epic bastards? This is Chad. I was going to do a video on Helldivers, but I couldn't get the damn game to work. So today we are going to be taking a look at Saints and Sinners 2, The Walking Dead Retribution. Now, if you thought the first round was a hoop, strap in, because this sequel is going to take y'all on a wilder ride than the walker-infested streets of New Orleans. It's like revisiting an old friend, except this friend's world's gone to hell in a handbasket, and it's up to you to navigate through the chaos. So let's get ready to rumble with the dead once more, shall we? Now let's mosey on down to see what's cooking in this sequel. Picking up 3 months after where we left off, you're back in the boots of the tourist. This time around, you're lending a hand to a group of survivors looking to snag fancy blueprints to a Hotel Eclair. But as luck would have it, things go sideways quicker than a greased pig on roller skates. You end up knocked out colder than a well digger's behind in January, only to wake up as a good Father Carter. After handing over the blueprints, it's time to head back home, reminiscent of all the craziness that's gone down. The Big Easy's in a bigger mess than before. Old Town's seen better days, the Reclaimed are as good as gone, and there's a new boogeyman in town, the Axeman. Makes walking the streets feel like you're in one of them horror movies. But it ain't all bad. You'll meet some new faces, like the Pawn King, Sonny, and you get tangled up with a bunch called the Dissidents. They're looking to shake things up and take down Mama, the head honcho at the tower. It's a power struggle messier than a bayou catfish fry on a hot summer day. Alright, let's talk about how this game plays out. If you're thinking Chapter 2 is just rehashing the same old song and dance, well, you're in for a surprise. Sure, it's built on what makes the first game as addictive as a cold sweet tea on a hot day, but they've gone and spiced things up a bit. We're talking new mechanics that'll have you strategizing and fighting smarter, not harder. First off, the day and night cycle is a game changer. Deciding whether to brave the streets under the cover of darkness or in the light of day adds a whole new layer to the scavenging and surviving. Nighttime's not just darker, it's riskier, with rare materials out for the taking. If you're bold enough, and yes, the VR experience, it's like you're really there, in the thick of it, with every walker growling sending chills down your spine. Combat's been given a good polish too, with new weapons like the chainsaw that's satisfying to use as it sounds, and the feel of pulling triggers and reloading feeling more real than ever. It's a hoot. They've kept the crafting and resource gathering as tight as a pair of new boots, making sure you're always on the lookout for more gear and goodies, balancing that fine line between being a hero and ending up Walker Chow. Stepping into the visuals and sounds of Chapter 2 is like walking into a finely painted picture of the apocalypse with a soundtrack to match. They've taken that unique comic book look style from the first game and dialed it up a notch, keeping it as pretty as a peach while still throwing in the grit and grime of the undead world. It's all realistic enough to make you jump when the walker sneaks up on you, but it's still got that artistic flair that sets it apart from your run-of-the-mill zombie shooter. And let me tell you, the audio ain't nothing to scoff at either. The voice acting brings these characters to life, making you care about them folks trying to survive just as much as if they were in your own kin.
Just meeting with you here is a huge risk for us. Let me explain. We represent a growing faction inside the tower. People fed up with the current leadership. If Nola's gonna remain habitable, the time's come for a change at the top.
The environmental sounds, from the moans of the walkers to the whistle of the winds, through the broken streets of New Orleans, pull you in even deeper. It's immersive, y'all. You'll be checking over your shoulder in real life, swearing there's a walker behind you. That's the power of good audio in VR. It tricks your brain into thinking you're right in the thick of it. Now, let's get to the nitty gritty of what makes your heart race and your palms sweat in Chapter 2. Them challenges and the difficulty. Just like the swamp fills with gators after a flood, New Orleans is overflowing with walkers, and with each passing day, you're going to find yourself knee deep in more of them and less of everything else you need to survive. It's a fine balance, like walking on a tightrope with a gator pit. The addition of the day and night mechanics isn't just for show. Choosing when to venture out can mean the difference between a stroll in the park and running for your life from a horde of walkers attracted by the noise of your desperation. And let's talk about the new kid on the block, the Axeman. This fella adds a whole new layer of fear to your scavenging runs, making you question every shadow and every sound. But it ain't all about running and gunning. Resource managing, crafting, and making those tough calls on what you carry in your limited inventory spaces, it's about surviving by your wits as much as by your weapons. And with them items wearing down and the constant threat lurking around every corner, it keeps you on your toes, always planning, always thinking. It's the blend of survival horror and action that makes every moment in this game a thrill. Wrapping up my time with The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution has been like riding a roller coaster in the dark. You never quite know what's coming up next, but you're sure as heck gonna keep screaming and enjoying the ride. From the moment you strap in that VR headset, you're not just playing the game. You're living in a world where every decision, every swing of your weapon feels impactful. Comparing it to the first chapter, Chapter 2 doesn't try to reinvent the wheel. Instead, it takes what we loved, those heart-pounding, sweat-inducing moments of survival, and amplifies them. With a few new tricks up his sleeve, like the Chainsaw Man for close-up and personal encounters, and the tactical decisions brought on by the day and night cycle, it's familiar territory with enough surprises to keep you on your edge. Sure, it might lean towards being an expansion than a full-blown sequel to some folks, especially considering the price tag. But when the world's this immersive and the zombies this relentless and the action this satisfying, it's hard to hold that against it. Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 is a testament to what makes VR gaming so darn exciting, especially for fans of survival horror. If you're the type that gets a kick out of strategizing survival tactics, enjoying a good story, and don't mind getting a little virtual blood on your hands, then The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 is right up your alley. It's a must-play for veterans of the first game, and a hearty welcome to newcomers looking to dip their toes in the VR zombie apocalypse. With its blend of familiar gameplay and fresh challenges, it's clear that if it ain't broke, there ain't no need to fix it. As for what the future holds, with talks of more chapters of DLC, I'm all ears and ready for whatever comes and shambles the dark next.